Hey, hi. A very good morning and welcome to my Reiki session 9. Yeah, my name is Patricia Kaur and I've been practicing Reiki since 2019. It's been coming to 3 years for me. And since I started practicing Reiki, I have experienced my life journey in finding my freedom and happiness through this wonderful process of Reiki practice. Yeah. For this session, I'm going to share my experiences and journey from after my Reiki 1 lesson and also the Reiki 2 after my Reiki 2 lesson. By this sharing, I'm hoping I'm able to share uh, and explain the differences between Reiki 1 and versus Reiki 2. Yeah. To me, Reiki 1 is like formulating the foundation for my Reiki practices. So if you were to look at and to think about when you're trying to build a very high-rise building, you kind of need to build a foundation. So Reiki 1 is like a foundation for me to start my spiritual journey and also which include the Reiki practices. Although when I started with these practices, I did not realize it then. Yeah, then I just take it and just go with the flow for the Reiki 1, right? And as I start going deeper into my Reiki practices, I realize that it's actually the main foundation to build towards my spiritual journey. Yeah. So looking back now, it was a crucial step for me for uh, for me it was a it was a crucial step for me for finding myself when I started this practice. In a sense, Reiki 1 was in a way meant to connect us with our own physical form, especially our body, you know. So we typically only feel our body when we are in pain, discomfort, or when we are or on a more severity stage is when we are diagnosed with a certain disease. Yeah. So the physical body is kind of extension, of our soul, and it kind of describe the state of where we are from that perspective. So in Reiki 1, you find that a lot of practices or a lot of feeling or a lot of interaction are very much related to the physical body. Yeah. Key one, we learned about qi, which is in qi. Of course, qi is a Japanese Chinese word, right? And how we translate it is to the universal life force energy. And at Wiki 1, we also learn different kind of energy level, illness, disease, and iceberg phenomena related to the root cause of illness, disease. And at Wiki 1, we also learn about chakra systems, which is kind of give a clearer understanding of how the energy gets into our body through the chakra system. Yeah. And in the Reiki 1, we also start practicing our 12 body position. We discuss and practice short treatment and chakra treatment. Yeah. And um, and during a Reiki 1 lesson, we are also been exposed to understand how Reiki come about. That's where we've been exposed and we've been shared about Reiki stories, and and also a bit of story related to Mikao Usui, and then how the Reiki practices was brought into the Western world and then and been expanded or get into the rest of the world. Yeah. And at the same time, during the Reiki 1, we also been taught about the 5 Reiki principle and also the Gasho meditation. Yeah. Yeah. And after Reiki 1, after Reiki 1 session, we started our daily practices of the 12 body position, and we also encourage to practice an hour on self-healing on ourselves. So we start getting a different a position which we find is comfortable on how do we do our own self-treatment. And once we are comfortable, we can start to provide the Reiki energy to others. Especially when I started, we get to people that's close to us, our family, our friends, or people who come along our way, and then that's where we started giving a bit of Reiki treatment. It could be a short Reiki treatment to kind of give them the exposure of understanding of Reiki. So at the beginning of the Reiki journey, after the lesson 1, we see that Reiki as something very external. That is also speaking from my own experience, right? We kind of seeing the Reiki energy as of like something very external, very outside us. It's like me and Reiki is like a total different element. And then when I say I practice Reiki, I'm something like practicing something external, you know. Yeah. So this is how personally how I feel during my lesson 1. So in a kind of in a summary form, is Reiki is like an external energy which we kind of invite through the universe, cosmos into our body, and through our so in the way we practices is we invite through into our chakra, crown chakras, and then into our chakra system, and then we kind of place our hand in different parts of our body. Of course, when it started, we are like myself. I also diligently follow the 12 position very closely, and then and these practices kind of help to harmonize and help to balance ourselves from a physical energy perspective, and then we start getting healing into our body. Yeah. So at this level, to us, Reiki is intelligent, and then it goes to where it needed most. So we kind of leave it to flow by itself. There's no, we do not direct any of the energy. We just invite it and let it flow by itself. And when we treat other people, we work like conduit and conduit for the energy to flow through ourselves into the next recipient. Yeah. So the recipient will be like a kind of, also from a perspective, they are kind of relaxed and they kind of receive the energy through us. Yeah. So although at this stage, when we kind of place our hand in different position, we do not direct the energy or manipulate the energy. So at this level of practices, we kind of invite, again, I just want to repeat, we kind of invite and let it flow by itself, going into either our body, our own body, or to the recipient body, and then it goes to where the energy will go to where it's needed. Yeah. And there's again also no diagnosis required, and we are kind of don't need a kind of expertise to understand how do we do or where should we direct the energy to. Yeah. And we kind of at this stage, we kind of just have to relax and let the energy flow, and we trust Reiki will do its kind of sometimes I call it magic, sometimes I'll kind of do its own work and work itself through to heal oneself, and also to let the recipient heal themselves, or herself. In Reiki 1, where we are using the Reiki energy mainly at the physical body, because at this level we kind of tend to at this level we kind of try to address physical pain, discomfort where we are feeling. So you will realize that when you started practicing in the in the beginning after the Reiki 1, right? We tend to look at when we start putting our hand or on our physical body, right? We tend to feel or try to identify the tingling feelings at which part of the position, and we also tend to feel certain warmness on different parts of the body, and we are kind of get at this level we kind of get excited about where the heat comes, the physical the heat coming from the palm, or which part of the body is getting warm, and also at this stage we also tends to have a chance to get the experience, or kind of go through some healing crisis. For example, if you were first, after, especially you're the first practitioner to, especially on this energy works related to Reiki, when we are going through some healing crisis, the recipients or even ourselves tends to have some diarrhea or some headache, or you can get into a bit of feverish, and the body feel a bit of discomfort. These are some of the healing crises as the energy start working on ourselves, our body. And same goes for other recipients. They tend to get some healing crisis. Some will get it more intense, some get it less intense. Yeah. So as we start our Reiki treatment to others, right, we also start providing treatment to try to address the recipient pain and discomfort. At Reiki 1, because we are still practicing it at the physical level, so the recipients also tends to kind of come to us on very much on their physical pain, and we also try to address from a physical discomfort perspective. Yeah. So this is kind of a very brief difference, or I would say difference, kind of brief journey on after the Reiki 1, right? So now let me get into Reiki 2, right? So Reiki 2 kind of bring us further into ourselves and kind of give us, I would say, give us more more powerful tools for our self discovery and integration. Yeah. So in Reiki 2, we learn 3 symbols to let the energy, or to let the universal life force energy flow and work more efficiently. Not to say effective, but more efficiently. Yeah. So let me talk further about the symbol, right? About symbols, okay? Before getting into the Reiki symbol. Yeah. So there are kind of 3 levels of symbols. So I will start with talking about logos. So logos are man-made symbols. So you just consider example like when we example of logos are like when you look at Nike, there's a tick, the tick logo of Nike. And then if you look at when you get to the fast food franchise restaurant, things like McDonald's, they have the big M, to represent the McDonald's. And then we have example, we have certain branded luxuries brand, like for example Hermes, the branded bags, it has the H with the all these name with it, right? So logos, which is a man-made symbols, it kind of they kind of use it to trigger certain program response. So these are kind of invented by man or by human to kind of work onto our conscious mind. So whenever we look at the particular logo, it kind of will trigger a certain requirement. So it has this image, or this the image of logo will kind of trigger us to say, oh, when you look at this logo, oh, it meant like for example, it meant food, or it meant luxury of a certain brand. So, and this particular logo is actually normally people start when they start building this logo, is meant, or when they start putting this image in is to build, is the main purpose is to convey branding, image, or messaging. So the companies will get to market their products, will kind of pull the consumer into their shop or into their online purchases or online stores, right? To The purpose is actually to get the consumer or the customer to start buying their stuff or to start getting into their shop. So one of the key logo objective is actually to enhance the revenue of the company. Yeah, and this is also what they call it. Logos are simple energy symbols, which information built in with the advertising advertising objective in mind, and then they keep on positioning or flagging out this logo to give a constant messaging. That means so that it flag onto the image of the person, so the person will continue to come and say, oh yeah, this is a very branded goods, or this is a very good brand, or this is a very popular food, you know. So it kind of give that consumer or the buyer the urge to go after this particular brand or the food. Yeah, so it's very clear. Logo has a very powerful task to kind of bring the consumer to the house, basically bring the consumer to the restaurant, or bring the consumer to the online shop, yeah, for us to continue to buy. And typically companies spend billions of dollars, you know, just to build up on logos or the design of the logos. Yeah, so logos are in a very high summary is a man-made logo, is a man-made symbol. Okay, so next we talk about symbology. So symbology is like, for example, is a kind of symbol that relates to usually relates to mythology, and it could be related to some fairy tales or dreams. And usually this symbology, it taps into our unconscious mind. Just now when I on unconscious or subconscious, man-made logos are mainly invented at the conscious mind, whereas symbology is more into the unconscious mind. Yeah, so and it kind of deepen the understanding of oneself from that perspective. So once you get to the symbol, right, you kind of tap into what we know and what we or sometimes we don't know what we know, right? So from that perspective, right? And I want to go a bit next to a deeper level into the symbol, where we talk about true symbol. So symbols are more related to tapping into real universal truths, what we could talk about, things that we do not know, you know. So true symbols are not man-made, and is kind of the way is kind of put it in position is kind of, it's like it's already exists in or exists on our kind of our inner realm, which is or the energy transformation. Like for example, we give an example, like for example the numbers, the alphabets, or something related to astrology, right? So it's not so much on it's not man-made logos, right? It's already is, and in this kind of symbol, it has been around for many generations, right? And it could have been it could have been established, or it has been established actually with frequent inputs of energy. So example, I give an example of true symbol or symbols, right, which we call example cross for Christianity. It definitely comes through the through our universal truths, right? And somehow it gets into the energy realm, and this throughout the practices of the religion, or and this kind of symbol that kind of comes in to the practitioner. And example, like I mentioned, the cross for the Christianity, and for the Buddhists, we are very familiar. For myself, I'm practicing Buddhism also from young, and then things like Dharma wheel are very has been kind of shared with us when we started practicing Buddhism, right? And then for the Islamic, they call it the Ottoman, which is related, the symbol is related to the crescents and the stars. And then Hinduism, they have the Om, right? So if you look at the religion practices, most of it or all of it have the symbols that is related to their practices, and so also their teaching. Yeah. So when we evoke sacred symbols, right, we kind of evoke the power or the energy and the information that has been embedded in this symbol. Yeah. So it kinds of like this, when we kind of call out, or we kind of a word, the right word we call it evoke. And this symbol, when we start using, or we start practicing this symbol, you will realize that the energy, we are actually tapping into the energy field by that has been embedded in this symbol. Yeah. And this energy, right? This energy has been kind of built over the many years or many centuries throughout the practitioner that has kind of been using this symbol. So then I have to talk about a little bit about the phenomena about energy field, right? Energy field, that how this symbol has this kind of, or this sacred kind of symbol has this kind of energy, this energy field, right? So there is a phenomena of building an energy, which they call the morphic resonance. Yeah. So morphic resonance is, I think it's by one of, I can't remember, one of the philosophy, or one of the philosophy back many years ago, right? And this philosophy was so example, maybe I will give an example of this morphic resonance, right? So example of morphic resonance is like, for example, nursery rhymes. To make it simple, nursery rhymes that was taught to kids all over the world, and you will realize that the kids from even from a different countries or different cultures, right, they seems to be able to learn and understand a nursery rhymes easily, compared to a straight like reading from a textbook, or reading from a pure dry textbook. So when you ask them to read certain textbook, they find it very hard to memorize. When you give them a nursery rhymes, they could catch it very fast, and they could grasp the intonation, the kind of the tone and the words, and it comes very naturally to them. So why does this kid, regardless of where the origin or where they are from country perspective or even culture, they seems to be able to access to this morphic field? So you kind of understand what I mean, right? Even like, for example, we start singing birthday songs, happy birthday songs, or you realize that it's quite a universal, when you start going to even a simple song like the happy birthday, right, song, you will and you compare different wordings, whether it's Malay or Mandarin or English, right, you'll find that the music and the rhyme is pretty much the same. Of course, the wording varies from different languages, right, but you find this music and the tone are always the same. So this is also another example of morphic resonance. Yeah. So the other example of morphic resonance that I want to share is actually example, if you are from Chinese, especially from a Chinese educated school, right? Kids from those Chinese educated school seems to be very good with the mental mathematics, and if you get into a lot of conversation, and sometimes you see a lot of YouTubes, and then they say, oh, Chinese are when you refer to Chinese, they always link them, equate them to the race or the people that is very good with mathematics. And sometimes if you take look back or take few steps back, why are these Chinese educated school, why are they so good with their mental mathematics, right? Like example, their sum and multiplication, right? So what I realize is those kids from, especially on the when they are educated through the Chinese education system, right? These kids tends to use mathematics and numeric, they call it the mathematics and numerics rhythms to memorize the multiplication tables. So in a way, if you look at it, right, they already make the multiplication tables into a rhyme. And this they have been practicing for many years, right? Many 100 years, or I don't think it's 1,000, but many 100 years, or yeah, I might be right, could be thousands of years. And then in the way, right, the kids from this school, they tend to have access to this morphic field, which was created by kids that has been practicing years before. So this is, yeah, it's also a very clear example of assessing it to the morphic energy, right, or energy field. Yeah. Another example, very good example, is also the teaching of the Tao I Ching, right? So if you, me myself, I'm not very familiar with Tao I Ching, but I do read a very high level about Tao I Ching, you know, the certain rhymes, because for me, I wasn't, I wasn't been educated in the Mandarin education. I was sent mainly to the national school, so in Malaysia, right? So I'm not very familiar with the Tao Te Ching practices. But as I did some research on Tao Te Ching, they are also taught in a rhyme. And these young kids, right, when they start learning the Tao, right, as early as 2 or 3 years old, right, they don't even understand each of the word by itself. That means the meaning of each word they do not understand, but you will realize at a very young age they could rhyme it, they could memorize and rhyme it very well. That means it kind of go through this rhythmic process of memorizing, and as they grow, right, this kind of rhythmic phrases kind of impart into, or kind of embedded into their subconscious mind. So as they start practicing the Tao practices, right, these kids start getting into the access of the embedded energy field. So that's how is they have that's how these practices has been carried on for many years. And you find that from young they can actually remember and memorize this Tao the Tao phrases in a very simple rhythmic phrases. Yeah. And morphic resonance, like I mentioned, right, is kind of a theory that all similar things kind of resonate with the past similar things. So this is kind of concept to help to explain that not only the power of symbol, right? It's not only the power of symbol, but also the power of our Reiki attunement process, right? So the field of the information help us to access, you know, it helps us to access to the area of the power and kind of support okay. So what it means is the field of the information help to give us access to the area of the power and support that we cannot usually access to our own. So meaning that in the same way of the in the same concept of the morphic resonance, right? When after our attunement, Reiki attunement process, right, we as a practitioner kind of have access to the power, because this kind of practices, or the symbol example, this kind of symbol, it has been practices by millions and millions of people, and it has been practiced for more than, coming to more than 100 years. So it has already I would put it in a way, it has already the power of the symbol continue to increase through the practices of all these practitioner over years, or over 100 years. Yeah. So one of, I just want to give a quote here. one of the psychologists, which is Carl Jung, said symbols are, I would like to quote him, symbols are living organic energy fields which act to release and transform other energies. So this is very powerful, right? It kind of live in the energy field, and at the same time it kind of release it to the usage. When we start practicing, it kind of release it for us, and also it transform other energy. So which means that is a very powerful and very alive, and it has its own, the way we put it, it has its own power independence of us. So meaning that this symbol are very powerful, and for us as a practitioner, we must actually treat this symbol as with full respect. This, I will put it a sacred symbol with full respect. Yeah. Okay. So from my personal practices after I've completed Reiki 2, I do find that the symbol intensify my self treatment and also the treatment to others. I also have focus and clearer intent after I started practicing Reiki with symbols. And as I mentioned just now, very much related to the morphic field, I believe that those symbols contains energetic information that has been amplified by millions of Reiki practitioner through the practices by using, activating and building upon the original information or original intent by Mikao Usui, which is the originator, right? And the more we practice, the more powerful the symbol to us. So the concept of symbol having their own energy field means that the energy evolving and growing as we practice and expand our Reiki practices. Yeah. So in this sense, we as a practitioner would see that the symbols are sacred. Yeah. And as for me, when I get through the journey, right, I will also like to share, right. When I started with the Reiki 1, whenever I start putting the practices on my body for the treatment, right, I will find that I tends to it's not that I get kind of sway off from the practices. It's more I still do the practices, but my mind, the monkey mind sometimes come in. It gets busy, and it gets distracted, and then I will pull it back, And at that time, without the symbol, what I did is I have done meditation before, so I kind of use some of my mantra to bring it in. But after I started practicing Reiki 2, as I doing my own self-treatment or doing for others, I start putting more energy on my palm, and then I will realize that the focus is there, my intent is also clearer, and I have less, not that I don't have, I have less monkey mind running around, and the focus and is the focus are very clear, and you will find that also it gets very powerful as I start practicing onto my doing my own self-treatment and giving treatment to others. Yeah. And just now, as I mentioned, sacredness of Reiki symbols, they are true symbol, so they are kind of exist beyond us, and they kind of exist in at the universal level, right? So it's kind of beyond us. So we must have a very clear intent, and when we use them, we actually have to use them with a clear and right intent. So if sometimes we are not sure or we are very unsure, so it's best to not to use them. So we don't use, example like if we are not very comfortable or we are not very sure of the intent, right? So yeah, just leave it, just leave it. And when we are clearer, we use it with a good intent. Yeah, so we use it with love and with a, I would put it with a good intent in mind. So in this case, what I'm trying to say is we should not use it to manipulate things. That means, or when we are in anger, where we are not happy with situation or person, we try to sit back first before using it, before using the energy. So it kind of get backfire, right? You get that. Sometimes we call it a mirror image, because you kind of get it because of the anger. You kind of try to put the intensity, and then the effect will be it will be more, it kind of backfire. I'll put it that way. Yeah. So meaning that as we have, like, the more power we have, when we have a bigger, when we have a more powerful tools, we as a practitioner should use it with a mindful intention, and also with respect, with love, and as I mentioned again, with a good intent, and reduce, or we should avoid manipulation. Yeah. And one of the example that I want to share is when I started practicing, my master was saying that, remember, do not use this symbol to do not use the symbol to try to win over gambling. When we gamble or we play mahjong, do not use the symbol to win over the mahjong the mahjong game. Yeah. So this is example of a manipulating. Yeah. So second and third degree symbols, right, have to be kept secret. Yeah. So we should not teach, and never teach to someone who is not trained or initiated under Reiki practices, especially the Reiki level 2. And some schools even go as far as forbid the students, or what do you call get the students to even avoid, I would say, avoid to forbid the students to write the symbol down. That means they expect, they teach them how to write the symbol in a proper manner, try to get them to memorize, practice, and once they are comfortable with it, they are supposed to not even keep the symbol in a hard copy. Yeah. Yeah. So some schools get to that extent. Yeah. And under my master practices, under my kind of my master lineage practices, we believe that it's okay to write it down, but it should be kept away from those that are not trained, or those are not initiated with this symbol. Yeah. So with this symbol, we learn to make direct contact with our subconscious and our superconscious mind. Yeah. So second degree can help us to heal beyond our physical body. And as I mentioned just now, at the Reiki 1, we are addressing the physical body challenges. And you will realize at Reiki 2, we are actually going beyond the physical body, and this is where we try to address our emotion and mind as well. Yeah. So after the Reiki 2 practices, it will kind of bring us into a more holistic healing, which has an impact covering the body, mind, and emotion. Yeah. So after the Reiki 2 initiation, it brings us to a higher level. Yeah, higher level, mainly at the etheric body, which is at the or at the bigger, I would say, the outer layer of our energetic body. Yeah. So at this Reiki 2, we are kind of initiated to the symbol, and to the Reiki symbol, and the Reiki symbol works like an energy transformer to us. Yeah. So like I mentioned, at Reiki 2, we are introduced to 3 Reiki symbols, and we we call it. I will also share in this session. We call it as empowerment in the Reiki word called chakra, and harmonizing the second symbol, which we call it CK, and then the third one we call it as telephone line under my lineage. Under my lineage master teaching, but I realized that some other teaching they call it the connection symbol. We call it Honsha Zeishonen, and in short we call it Honza. So Honsha. So these are the three symbols that we learn during our Reiki 2. Yeah. And to make it simple, or sometimes because as a practitioner, we do, among the practitioner, we kind of talk about the Reiki during our session, or when we gathered outside. And so what we do is we typically refer it to the symbol as 321. So meaning that one refer to the empowerment symbol, the second refer to the harmonizing symbol, and then the third we call it the telephone line and the connection symbol. Yeah. So the empowerment symbol, we call it the symbol 1, is to help us to energize, empower, and activate and clear. So this symbol help kind of to amplify certain ability within our system. So like I mentioned, that when I started with this symbol in the hand, I felt that I have this invisible power on my hand, on the tools. And then when I started having this symbol, I felt that, if you all do watch some movie like the adventure movie, Doctor Strange, the Marvel Universe, the Marvel movie, right? I felt like, like him, where he started having this power on his hand, and he can transform and get into a different universe or different world. So that was how I felt when I started having this power or this empowerment symbol on my hand. Yeah, and it create more intensity. It kind of create more intensity. Or I would put it in intensify my practices. And even when I start working on giving treatment to others, I could feel a different energy and different focus, or more focus into the treatment for others and for myself. Yeah. And when also it also gave me the feeling of ability to deepen the treatment process. Symbol 2 is, we also call it the harmonizing symbol, which is used for communication, intuition, and protection. Yeah, the word stated clearly, it harmonizes the environment, the space, and bring more balance and clarity to the space and symbol. I typically activate number 2 symbol following by 1. So this is how we practice it through where I learned it from. Yeah, through my master. We usually have the symbol 2 and then followed by 1. And by far, the 2-1 harmonizing with empowerment symbol are my D favorite, right? I typically, I activate 2 symbol 2 following by 1 in most of my daily activities. So it's countless, right? Every day I'm not sure how many times I use 2-1, right? In every little thing. So for example, when I get to my hiking exercise, every hiking exercise I will use my 2-1. So as I enter the hill, or I start hiking, or I start to hike up a hill, right? I start to draw the 2-1, and then it kind of harmonize the hill and the trail that I'm walking through. So it gives me the peace or the comfort that I'm comfortably walking up the hill. So every hike that I do, I use 2-1. Yeah. And as I walk out, or I would say as I hike up, I would feel the serene feel around me or around the hill, and then I always enjoy my hike. Yeah. And I also use this combi of 2-1 in my daily calls. So my conversation with my family, and then I feel that, as any conversation, in my work call, in my family call, or in my family conversation. And sometimes when I feel that there's some disagreement coming up, I will put up my 2-1, and then, in the whole, and then you will find that all conversation, even within family, is very constructive. That means we try to minimize this argument. I mean, there's always a discussion. I would say a strong different opinions. We encourage that, but we do it with a very constructive discussion. Yeah. So 2-1 is a very is my D favorite. Yeah. I wouldn't dive deeper too much into how I use it. Yeah. And then symbol 3, which we call it the telephone or sending connection symbol. This is used for distant healing, and it kind of allows us to transmit through time and space. Yeah, meaning that we can send treatment, healing energy to people miles away from us, and we can send Reiki to address issue to the past, to the present, to the future, and we can even send it to address a relationship with people, and this is the more the more we send, the more creative we get to address different issues. So the issue that we can address is it depends on our creativity. The more we do, the more areas, or the more challenges that we can address. So it's kind of beyond a standard. There's no standard, basically. There's no standard. It's all limited by our own creativity. Yeah. So this symbol 3 gives us the ability to send Reiki to the morphic field. I was talking about the morphic field, right? So and it can send in, including thoughts, our situation, and our intention. Yeah. So like I mentioned, right? We are only limited by our own creativity, or our constraint by our own limitation. And we can, the more practices we do, we can definitely break beyond this limitation that we create by the own boundary that created by ourselves. Yeah. When I started Reiki 1, kind of using Reiki 1 as self-healings as a tool at the physical level, it kind of addressed, like I mentioned, right, at the physical level. So looking back, when I started my Reiki 1, right, I kind of used Reiki practices as a self-healing tools at very much at the physical level, trying to address my physical comfort and pain. Although at that time I was already stepping into my spiritual path then, I did not see myself using Reiki practices into this path. I was just using it for very much on very much on self-healing at the physical level. Only after Reiki 2, after the attunement into the symbol, it has brought me into a new new world, in that sense, new world of committing into my personal growth. So with this Reiki 2 together with the symbol, it brought me to more understanding of myself at a different energy level, at the physical, mental, and soul. I would put it in a way of getting me into the body, mind, and soul level, or energy level. Yeah. So I would say that with these three symbols, the empowerment, the harmonizing, and also the connection symbol, right, I'm become more aware and more sensitive of situations, and also I find more courage to work through the changes that comes along my path. So don't get me wrong, it's not that now I'm with a symbol, I'm with with these practices is everything is smooth sailing, right? No, no, it's not. It's just that when the challenges come in, I have this symbol on my hand, and I can ride through these challenges that comes in along my way, and I kind of accept it, and I can move on more easily. Yeah. So the acceptance and the walk is much easier. Yeah. So I put it using this symbol, right? It gives me empowerment to kind of let go the control and the expectation, and the ability to go with the flow, which in return kind of provide me more balance of life, peace and connection to my inner self. And also with people around me, I kind of walk through this journey with them with more compassion. Yeah. As my practices in Reiki deepens with the usage of the symbol, this symbol has started I see that it started to integrate into my daily life. So that means that it becomes like, for example, the symbol becomes my muscle. It comes into my muscle memory. So I don't really have to think about it. I don't have to consciously think about it. It's like subconsciously it comes out. So when a certain situation comes out, right, subconsciously it either my hand or through my third eye, I will start drawing this symbol and putting mentioning the name of the symbol, and to address the issue coming up, right? So example, one of the very simple example, when I walk into to my hike again, when I recently go to the hike, and then I could see a dog coming, a dog approaching me. Automatically it just, with my third eye, it's not even my hand, with third eye, I just draw a harmonious to one, harmonious together with the empowerment symbol, and then kind of balance and harmonize the situation. And then the dog will slowly walk past me, and I also feel very peaceful and very comfortable. So this is a kind of what I mentioned, that this symbol has kind of start integrating into my daily life, and it's to me, it now has become part of me as one. So I think it's a very beautiful journey that I have now together with these Reiki practices, and especially after the Reiki 2, with all the symbol coming into my palm and my usage. Yeah. So I hope on my sharing of this, my personal journey on my Reiki 1 and my Reiki 2, it kind of give you more insights of the differences, or I would say the differences between Reiki 1 versus Reiki 2. Yeah. Thank you for listening in. Hope to see you all again for my next session. Thank you.